Welcome back, YouTube. In this video, I'm going to be answering the $1 million question as far as for when is the next leg up for Dogecoin? What does that look like? In my last video, I mentioned that the current trend here in the trajectory we had off of the lack of effects on the 14 crossing the 72 to the downside, because typically it recovers relatively quickly, which is what it happened here exactly. We're still roughly we crossed the 14, crossed the 72. We were roughly at around 1529. And as you can see right now, we're around 1521. So we had the dip down just like we did here, and then we recovered, right? But the cross to the upside, the 14 crossing the 72 to the upside, has continued to be a very bullish indicator, right? And if we're looking at the similar multiplier, that would put Doge somewhere between 39 and 45 cents once we close this gap between the 14 and the 72. So ultimately, what does that mean? Basically, when we are able to close this gap here between 14 and 72, that will be our next indicator of our next leg up. Now, if our next leg up launches from the 15 range, then that's going to be really great here. The numbers that we've tested and retested are still going to be where we're going to look to have our breakouts at. So we're talking about like the 18 range, the 20 to 22 cent range. Ultimately here, this is going to be our breakout number as far as for this range here. But as long as we are at this level here, we're pretty much resting at that equilibrium for as far as the price point for Doge, which is really fine for where we are now in the cycle. We know that we have a bunch of news coming out as far as for like the House and getting some pushback from the government really on crypto. And I really wanted to kind of point out that we're going to see a lot of news around crypto. I mentioned it briefly in my last video, stating that because this is an election year, crypto is going to be a hot topic. And we know how volatile the crypto market is. It trades 24/7. So that's something to really kind of keep in effect. But something I didn't mention is, and I just talked about this in my Zoom a few moments ago, the biggest thing is crypto. Well, it's crypto in the stock market. If you're looking at an election period for whoever's in office, right? Current administration, whoever that is, no matter what side of the aisle you sit, it's very difficult to get reelected if the markets are performing bad. What you want to typically run off of is a strong market, the market's going up, and kind of point to the markets and say, hey, if you want more of this, reelect me, right? It's very difficult to get reelected if you have a stagnant market, threatening collapse, falling through the floor. Typically, it's not going to work out for you, right? So this is why, if you look at all the election years, this is why historically, we typically get some type of rally at around the end of Q3 and certainly going into Q4 when it's around debate time and we start getting polls back from certain states and stuff like that. We'll usually start to get some real, quote unquote, y'all know, this mystery money starts flowing into the market, and the markets pump, right? Historically, they pump. And whether it's a BS pump or not, historically, election years, markets pump, right? So there's certainly something to look out for going into Q3, Q4. We have a few months. So if you're positioning, I'll say that certainly, I will put that in the macro events folder, right? The macro, as far as for things that can affect coins, whether that be, and this is the crypto market as a whole. This is not just for Bitcoin because it's a macro. This is Doge, especially any of the coins in the top 10. This is certainly going to have an effect, right? Having that factor come into play here. So I think that that's something we have to kind of keep in mind for positioning and really timing as well. Because the biggest thing that we've seen that after the halving, we have a period of time where there's the consolidation, then we start that gradual ascend and we start rallying. If you take a look and you want to, let me just go back here to, I think I'm going to zoom way out. Let's go back here to 2020. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to Bitcoin because I want to show you guys really the flow of money in here, because that makes a big difference when you're saying, as far as for timing, because I know sometimes all of you don't watch all of my videos, but if you didn't watch the one where I said when I went over the time the timing of liquidity coming into the market. That's a really good video to watch. But overall, you're looking at certain periods and you want to say, when is peak bull run compared to the halving, right? Because the market does rally after the halving, right? But so we're saying halving, let's just say May 2020, right? April, May 2020, right? We are roughly around $8,000. We have some tests up here, $10,000, some dips, even going to 12,000, some dips. This is when I was saying that, Bitcoin has went from 17,000 to 3,000, from 12,000 to 5,000. We're talking about mass liquidity coming in and out of the market, but that wasn't the peak. And but the valleys were there. So I know sometimes, because you have like the valleys, even if you're coordinating this to other coins, saying, hey, we're at 15 or Doge went to 12, the valleys are always there, but the peaks are never there. And we peaked when? We peaked that following year. We had this ascend up, and make no mistake here. And when we get to peak bull run, or even when we start getting God candles, make no mistake, especially for those of you who are in the market, people were calling the top this entire time. This is it. It's over. This is it. This is over. This dip here, it's over. It's going to 0. It's going to 10. Like this entire time, it's over. It's over. It's over. So it's very difficult to time when exactly it's over, even when you're having this run. So just kind of keep that in mind, especially I know most of you are watching because of Doge. 22 cent, 25 cent, 30 cent, 35 cent. The entire time Doge is going up, it's over. The same way they're doing right now. We bottomed out. We had a flash crash at around 5, bottomed out at around 6 cent. It's going to, when we go to 8 cent, it's over. We go to 10 cent, it's over. We go to 12 cent, it's over. 15 cent, it's over. 18 cents, it's over. 22 cents. This is going to continue. So for those of you that are new to the market and tuning in, you're going to have to have your numbers, certainly do your research, keep an eye on macro events, crypto, make sure there's no divergence. That's why I tell you guys, so that you can kind of overlay that with your own research, so that you can look to make sure that there's nothing happening specific to Doge where you can justify saying, hey, it's over. If the entire market's doing it, and especially if we're this early into the bull run, more than likely that's going to be false information. So it's just something that you can kind of verify on your own and give yourself some peace when you're trying to evaluate what the market's going to do, because people are going to be screaming from the top of their lungs at every interval that we go up, every level of support we break. There's going to be guys out there, it's over, it's going to 0. Like it's so the timing when that next leg up is going to be, typically speaking, we have the ascend. We start getting very strong growth around Q3, Q4 going into that. But the biggest thing is, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, if this is your first video, the crypto market, the bull run is typically 18 months. There's a reason for that. You cannot having last month and then judge the market and say, okay, it's over this month. If you would have invested like that at any halving since the beginning of crypto, you would have absolutely lost a fortune, and you would have not had decent returns based off of the market performance at any point in time in crypto history. So kind of keep that in mind there going forward. Until we get divergence, evidence of divergence, there's no reason to take those positions. So ultimately, we'll see the next leg up. Like it will, as we start curving here. Let me go back to Dogecoin. When I'm talking about legs up, I don't want to cause any confusion on here. Let's go back. Whoa. Okay. So as we get close, because right now what we have here is this, we see the 14 bending. So as we get this here, I'll say once we get the 14 into the current zone here with the 72, because what's going to happen here, especially if we flatline with the 15 cent, this curve here in the 72 is going to flatline right as well, right? But as we're up here, we see that the 14 is below. So we can start getting some estimates once this 14 here gets above like this 15-20 range. We can start getting, because at that point will be a couple weeks, maybe even if it's just a gradual, if we keep the capital coming into the market, liquidity coming into the market, the volume, for lack of better words, volume coming into the market at a slower pace, that can give us a trajectory. Now, obviously, something big can happen, and then we can have a big candle come up today, and then the candle passes the 72. but that's not the overall trend. The trend, if you can get 2 weeks of an uptrend here and get this cross here, typically you're onto something. This is why you typically don't see, me jumping when we have big candles. So I was just saying, okay, well, if this holds or, breaking this level with conviction, for those of you that follow me, you'll hear me say things like that because you ultimately have to build some strength into those levels. That's one of the biggest things that I was talking about going forward, building strength in these levels here, because when we had this rally here and a lot of people were crying and saying, hey, we shouldn't have these rejections here. We should be going to 22. For those of you that watch my videos, remember, I said that it's better to build the staircase than the highway to heaven or those moon candles, because those gaps typically fill. Now, how grateful are you that we built this support down here at around 15 cents? Imagine if this would have just been one candle up here to 22 cents, right? Where would we grab liquidity from? Who knows, right? So, sometimes it's just better to, I know it's a slower approach. It's not as exciting as that rocket ship, but it pays off. I promise you, when you have curveballs thrown, whether that be whale selling, Bitcoin selling off, the White House writing laws against crypto, any of these shocking things that you can't predict, that you can't chart, when it happens, you'll typically be grateful for those levels of support. So with that being said, I hope you found value in this video. Please like, share, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel so we can beat Bitcoin to 100,000 by getting 100,000 subscribers first. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.